Captain Aaron Volos stood at the observation deck of the Imperial cruiser Imperator, gazing at the blue-green planet hanging in the void before him. Earth, the insignificant world that had suddenly caught the Emperor's attention. After conquering thousands of star systems and establishing dominance across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, the Galactic Empire had finally turned its gaze toward this isolated planet, orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. "Captain, the surveillance reports you requested," said Lieutenant Commander Kell, approaching with a data tablet in hand. Aaron took the tablet without a word, his eyes never leaving the planet below. The reports confirmed what the hidden observation stations had been transmitting for months. Earth was developing supersonic energy weapons at an unprecedented rate. Unlike most pre-FTL civilizations the Empire had encountered, these humans weren't following the expected technological progression. They had developed energy manipulation techniques that, while primitive by Imperial standards, showed remarkable innovation. "Fascinating," Aaron murmured, scrolling through the intelligence assessments. "They've bypassed conventional particle acceleration theory entirely." "Sir, we've also received new orders from Imperial Command," Kell said. His voice lowered despite the privacy of the observation deck. Aaron finally turned from the viewport, raising an eyebrow. "Let me see." The message was brief, encrypted with the Emperor's personal sigil. "Prepare for war. The Earthlings will be worthy opponents." Aaron frowned. The Empire typically annexed primitive worlds through overwhelming displays of force, followed by diplomatic integration. This directive was different. The Emperor didn't merely want Earth's subjugation. He wanted a fight. "Assemble the command staff," Aaron ordered, "and contact Major Mira Shan. I want her intelligence assessment before we make any moves." As Kell departed, Aaron returned his gaze to Earth. After centuries of easy conquests, the Emperor was bored. He sought entertainment, a challenge worthy of Imperial might. And somehow, this small blue world had captured his interest. "So you want a war," Aaron whispered to the distant planet. "Let's see if you're as worthy as the Emperor believes." Major Mira Shan's hologram flickered in the center of the Imperator's strategy room. Her features were sharp, her gaze calculating as she addressed the assembled officers. "Earth's military capabilities are fragmented but surprisingly adaptable," she explained, manipulating the holographic display to show various Earth weapon systems. Unlike most pre-FTL civilizations, they maintain multiple competing military forces rather than a unified planetary defense. "A weakness we can exploit," remarked Commander Jax, the Imperator's tactical officer. Mira shook her head. "Possibly, but it also means they've developed diverse combat doctrines. Our standard conquest protocols may be less effective against such variety." Aaron studied the display, noting the surprising array of weapon systems. "These energy weapons, how advanced are they?" "Primitive by our standards, but innovative in application," Mira responded. "They've developed directed energy systems that utilize atmospheric conditions rather than fighting against them. In some ways, they're more efficient than our own designs, if significantly less powerful." "The Emperor believes they'll provide worthy opposition," Aaron said. "I'm inclined to agree. Their technological development curve is unusual." "There's something else," Mira added, her expression growing more serious. "Cultural analysis suggests these humans have an unusual relationship with warfare. Most species we encounter view war as a necessary evil or a means to an end. Humans appear to glorify it in their media and historical records. They find meaning in conflict itself." Aaron felt a chill at this assessment. It aligned perfectly with the Emperor's directive. Perhaps these humans were kindred spirits to the Empire after all. "Recommendations for first contact?" Aaron asked. "Standard intimidation display would be counterproductive," Mira advised. "Based on their historical records, humans respond to threats with increased resistance rather than submission. I suggest a measured approach. Demonstrate our technological superiority while leaving room for them to test their capabilities against us. A series of skirmishes rather than full invasion, Aaron nodded. Give them a taste of Imperial might while allowing them to believe they have a fighting chance. Precisely, Captain. Aaron stood. Decision made. Prepare a scout squadron for deployment. We'll establish a forward operating base in their lunar orbit and begin tactical probes of their defense systems. Commander Jax, develop an escalating engagement protocol. I want these humans challenged, not obliterated. As the officers dispersed to carry out their assignments, Aaron remained in the strategy room, studying the holographic representation of Earth. The Emperor wanted a war for entertainment, but Aaron saw something more intriguing, a chance to test Imperial doctrine against a truly novel opponent. Major Shan, remain a moment, he said as the others filed out. When they were alone, he asked the question that had been troubling him. The Emperor's fascination with this planet seems personal. Do your intelligence reports indicate why? Mira's hologram flickered as she hesitated. Nothing concrete, Captain. However, deep cultural analysis of Earth media shows a remarkable similarity to ancient Imperial entertainment formats. Their concept of sport particularly aligns with Imperial combat philosophy, the notion that conflict has inherent value beyond its outcome. The Emperor wants to fight them because he likes how they fight, Aaron translated. That appears to be the case, Mira confirmed. And, Captain, there's one more thing. Their planetary defenses are more advanced than they should be at their technological level. It's almost as if they've been preparing for an extraterrestrial threat. Aaron's eyes narrowed. You think they know we're here? No, Mira shook her head. I think they hope we're here. Cultural evidence suggests they've been imagining this encounter for centuries. The first Imperial scout vessels entered Earth's atmosphere 3 days later. Aaron watched from the Imperator's command deck as the sleek, dagger-shaped craft disappeared into the planet's cloud layer. Each carried a minimal crew and was equipped with stealth systems that should render them invisible to Earth's primitive detection technologies. Scout Squadron Alpha has cleared the upper atmosphere, reported Lieutenant Dorn at the communications station. Beginning surveillance run over the northern hemisphere. Aaron nodded, maintaining an outward appearance of calm while inwardly calculating variables. This was a delicate operation. The scouts were to observe, record, and occasionally allow themselves to be glimpsed. The Emperor wanted humanity to know they were being watched before the real engagement began. Squadron Beta reports ready for deployment to Southern Hemisphere, Dorn continued. Hold them in reserve, Aaron ordered. Let's see how Alpha fares first. The minutes stretched into hours as the scouts conducted their silent surveillance. Reports streamed in, confirming much of what Mira's intelligence had suggested. Earth's military forces were indeed fragmented, divided along national boundaries, but their detection systems were surprisingly interconnected. Captain, Lieutenant Dorn's voice cut through Aaron's thoughts. Scout 3 reports they've been detected. Aaron straightened. By whom? A military installation in the region they call North America. Scout 3 followed protocol and performed a maneuverability display before re-engaging stealth systems. Response? They've scrambled aircraft, sir. Primitive propulsion systems. But they're moving to intercept with remarkable speed. Aaron allowed himself a small smile. Good. Let them chase shadows for a while. Have Scout 3 lead them on a course that demonstrates our technological superiority without revealing our full capabilities. The next hour unfolded with precision as the Imperial Scout played cat and mouse with Earth's fighters. The humans displayed impressive adaptability, adjusting their intercept vectors based on minimal data. Despite their technological disadvantage, they managed to maintain pursuit longer than Aaron had anticipated. Scout 3 requests permission to terminate the engagement, Dorn reported. The Earth fighters are running low on fuel, but show no signs of breaking off. Interesting, Aaron mused. They're willing to risk their pilots rather than concede. grant permission, but have Scout 3 execute a final maneuver package before departure. Let's give them something to analyze. As the Scout broke atmosphere and returned to the safety of space, Aaron turned to Commander Jax. Your assessment. Their pilots are skilled and determined, Jax admitted. Their command structure responded quickly to an unknown threat, but their technology is no match for Imperial systems. And yet they pursued despite the obvious disparity. Aaron noted. Major Shan's cultural analysis appears correct. These humans embrace challenge, even when victory seems impossible. A commendable but futile attitude, Jax replied. Perhaps, Aaron said, though he wasn't entirely convinced. Deploy Squadron Beta. Let's see if the Southern Hemisphere responds with similar determination. By the day's end, all scout squadrons had completed their missions, each encountering variations of the same response from Earth's defenders: quick reaction, impressive adaptability, and a stubborn refusal to concede despite overwhelming technological disadvantage. Aaron retired to his quarters to prepare his report for Imperial Command. The Emperor would be pleased. These humans showed the fighting spirit he sought in an opponent. But as Aaron reviewed the day's data, he found himself troubled by an unexpected thought. He was beginning to respect these primitive beings. The lunar outpost grew rapidly over the following weeks, transforming the barren crater into a forward operating base for the Empire's forces. Imperial engineers worked tirelessly, constructing defensive emplacements, communication arrays, and landing platforms for the larger vessels that would soon arrive. Earth's response was equally energetic. Their detection systems now regularly tracked Imperial movements in cislunar space, and their communications buzzed with activity. They had named the Imperial presence the Visitors, and their media overflowed with speculation about the aliens who had suddenly appeared in their skies. Aaron monitored these communications with growing interest, occasionally allowing Imperial signals to be detected, just to observe how quickly the humans would decrypt them. Their progress was remarkable. Each time the Empire changed encryption protocols, Earth specialists required less time to break through. They're learning at an exponential rate, Mira noted during their daily briefing. Their technological adaptation curve exceeds all projection models. Is it possible they're receiving outside assistance? Aaron asked. Though he knew the question was far-fetched, the Empire maintained tight control over this sector of space. Unlikely, Mira replied. This appears to be an intrinsic human characteristic. They achieve their greatest advances when under threat. A species that thrives on adversity, Aaron mused. No wonder the Emperor finds them fascinating. The comm unit on Aaron's desk chimed, interrupting their discussion. Captain, we've detected a launch from Earth, reported the duty officer. Multiple vehicles on an intercept course with our lunar position. Aaron exchanged glances with Mira. This is sooner than expected. They're accelerating the timeline, she agreed. Your orders? Aaron considered the situation. The lunar base was operational, but not yet at full defensive capacity. This could be a perfect opportunity to test human capabilities without risking Imperial assets. Allow them to approach, he decided. Minimal defensive measures only. I want to see what they're bringing to this fight. The Earth vessels, crude by Imperial standards but impressive for a pre-FTL civilization, arrived at the lunar perimeter within hours. They maintained formation at a respectful distance, neither retreating nor advancing further. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, reported the communications officer. Simple mathematical sequences, followed by more complex linguistic patterns. A first contact protocol. They still think this might be peaceful, Mira observed, a hint of something like regret in her voice. Aaron studied the human vessels on the display. They were clearly military craft, armed with what appeared to be kinetic weapons and primitive energy projectors. Yet, they were attempting communication rather than immediately attacking. Respond with our standard identity beacon, Aaron ordered. Let them know exactly who we are and why we're here. The Imperial Beacon transmitted the Empire's formal declaration of presence, a digital package that had announced the doom of 1,000 worlds before this one. It contained the Empire's symbol, a brief, historical overview of their conquests, and a simple message: submit or face the consequences. The human response came within minutes, a tight beam transmission directed specifically at the Imperator. "They're requesting direct communication with our command," the communications officer reported, surprise evident in his voice. "Put it through," Aaron ordered, curious despite himself. The holographic projector flickered to life, revealing the image of a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her expression was one of controlled intensity. "This is Lieutenant General Elena Reyes of the Earth Defense Alliance," she stated, her voice clear and unwavering. "We acknowledge your presence and your declaration. We reject your terms. Earth will not submit." Aaron found himself impressed by her directness. "This is Captain Aaron Volos of the Imperial Cruiser Imperator. Your rejection is noted. General Reyes. The consequence will be war. Are you prepared for what that means?" "We've been preparing for this possibility for generations, Captain," she replied. "The question is, are you prepared to face an enemy who has imagined your arrival in 1,000 different ways and developed countermeasures for each one?" The audacity of her claim was so unexpected that Aaron nearly laughed. "Your confidence is admirable but misplaced. The Empire has conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours." "Perhaps," Elena conceded, "but you've never faced humans before." With that, the transmission ended, and the Earth vessels began a coordinated retreat toward their planet. Mira was the first to break the silence that followed. "That was unexpected." "Indeed," Aaron agreed, finding himself intrigued, rather than offended by the humans' defiance. "Dispatch pursuit craft. Let's see if their actions match their words." The ensuing chase through cislunar space provided the first real test of human combat capabilities. The Earth vessels separated, forcing the Imperial pursuers to divide their attention. What the humans lacked in technology, they compensated for with unpredictable maneuvering and effective use of their planet's gravity well. Most surprising was their willingness to sacrifice vessels to protect others. 2 human craft deliberately placed themselves in harm's way, absorbing Imperial weapons fire to allow their companions to escape. "They value the collective over individual survival," Mira noted as they watched the engagement unfold. "A trait we've typically only seen in hive mind species." "No," Aaron corrected, studying the tactical display. "This is different. Look at the communication patterns. Each sacrifice was a conscious choice by the individual pilots, not a command from above." By the time the skirmish ended, 3 human vessels had been destroyed, but 5 had successfully returned to Earth, carrying with them valuable data on Imperial weapon systems and tactics. "A costly exchange for them," Commander Jax observed. "But potentially worth the price," Aaron countered. "They've gained information that might help them adapt their defenses." "Against Imperial technology, impossible." Aaron wasn't so certain. Something about these humans, their adaptability, their willingness to sacrifice, their sheer determination, suggested they might prove more formidable than their technological level indicated. "Accelerate the timetable," he ordered. "I want the lunar base fully operational within 3 days. And send a priority message to the Imperial fleet. Tell them we've engaged the enemy and request additional battle groups." "You believe these humans warrant such force?" Jax asked, clearly surprised. Aaron recalled General Reyes' confident assertion, "You've never faced humans before." "I believe the Emperor's assessment was correct," he replied. "These humans will be worthy opponents, and I intend to give them the war they seek." The Imperial fleet arrived with characteristic grandeur, emerging from hyperspace in a formation designed to maximize visual impact. 24 warships, ranging from light cruisers to the massive dreadnought Dominion, took position in Earth orbit. It was a display of force meant to inspire awe and fear, a prelude to conquest that had broken the will of countless civilizations before first weapons were fired. Earth's response was immediate but measured. Their primitive satellites adjusted orbit to track the Imperial vessels. Their communications networks buzzed with activity. But there was no mass panic, no desperate last-minute attempts at negotiation. "They're mobilizing," Mira reported, reviewing intelligence data in Aaron's ready room. "Every major military power has activated reserve forces and deployed defensive systems. But they're not launching attacks. They're waiting for us to make the first move," Aaron observed. "Interesting strategy." "Or necessity," Mira countered. "They may simply need time to coordinate their global defense. Either way, we shouldn't disappoint them." Aaron activated the ship-wide communication system. "All personnel, prepare for combat operations. Fighter squadrons to launch stations. Target Package Epsilon is now in effect." Target Package Epsilon was a precision strike protocol designed to eliminate key military infrastructure while minimizing civilian casualties. It wasn't the Empire's most efficient approach to planetary subjugation that would involve indiscriminate bombardment from orbit, but it aligned with the Emperor's directive for an entertaining conflict. Imperial fighters streaked toward Earth's atmosphere, sleek and deadly. Each squadron had been assigned specific targets: command centers, weapons platforms, communication nodes. The attacks were synchronized to strike multiple continents simultaneously, preventing Earth's fragmented forces from supporting one another. Aaron watched from the Imperator's command deck as the first wave penetrated Earth's atmospheric defenses. Initial resistance was limited: a few surface-to-air missiles, easily evaded by Imperial craft. But as the fighters approached their primary targets, the situation changed dramatically. "Captain, Squadron 3 reports unexpected resistance," Lieutenant Dorn announced. "Energy weapons of unknown configuration." "Squadron 5 encountering similar defenses," added another officer. "2 fighters lost already." Aaron frowned. "Show me." The tactical display shifted, showing feed from a surviving fighter. What Aaron saw made him lean forward in surprise. The humans had deployed energy weapons, unlike anything reported in Mira's intelligence briefings. Rather than the expected directed beam weapons, these appeared to create localized energy fields that distorted Imperial targeting systems and disrupted shield harmonics. "They've been hiding their advanced technology," Mira said, appearing at Aaron's side. "Waiting for us to commit our forces before revealing their true capabilities." "A classic ambush strategy," Aaron acknowledged, though he couldn't suppress a glimmer of admiration. "Adjust fighter approach vectors. Have them utilize terrain masking to avoid these new weapon emplacements." The battle quickly evolved from the expected route into something far more complex. Imperial fighters still possessed overwhelming technological superiority, but the humans were using their planet's varied environments to tactical advantage. In mountainous regions, they'd positioned weapons that used the terrain to amplify their effect. Over oceans, they deployed platforms that somehow channeled atmospheric electricity to boost their firepower. Most impressive was their coordination. Despite having no unified global government, Earth's military forces were displaying remarkable cohesion, sharing targeting data and coordinating defensive zones that maximized coverage of their new weapons. "They've been planning this," Aaron realized. "Not just since our scouts arrived, for much longer." "Impossible," Commander Jax objected. "They couldn't have known about us." "They didn't need to," Mira interjected. "Cultural analysis suggests humans have been imagining conflicts with extraterrestrial forces for centuries. They've wargamed this scenario countless times in their fiction and their military planning." Aaron made a quick decision. "Recall the fighters. This approach isn't working." "Captain," Jax looked shocked, "we've lost only 7 craft. The humans have suffered far greater losses." "And they'll continue to lose more than us in direct engagement," Aaron agreed. "But that's not the objective. The Emperor wants a worthy opponent, not a massacre. We need to adjust our strategy. As the Imperial fighters retreated to the safety of their carriers, Aaron convened an emergency strategy session with his senior officers. The holographic display in the center of the room showed Earth rotating slowly, key battle zones highlighted in red. The humans have surprised us, Aaron began, without preamble. Their technological capabilities exceed our intelligence estimates, and their coordination despite political fragmentation is impressive. We need to reevaluate our approach. Their energy weapons are the greatest concern, noted Commander Savin, the fleet's science officer. Preliminary analysis suggests they're using principles we've never encountered before. Rather than projecting energy in a linear fashion, they're creating localized distortions in the energy substrate itself. Can we counter it? Aaron asked. Given time. Yes. But each variation we encounter seems to operate on slightly different principles. They're not deploying a single weapon type, but dozens of related but distinct systems. Adaptation versus standardization, Mira observed. It's a fundamental difference in philosophy. The Empire optimizes and standardizes. Humans diversify and experiment. Aaron considered this insight. Then we need to respond in kind. Commander Jax, I want our next attack wave to deploy mixed weapon systems. No standardized approach. Each strike team should utilize different configurations. That will reduce overall efficiency, Jax protested. Exactly, Aaron nodded. And it will make us less predictable. The humans are counting on our adherence to Imperial doctrine. Let's show them we can adapt too. The meeting continued late into the ship's night cycle, with each officer contributing tactics that deviated from standard Imperial protocols. By the time they adjourned, Aaron had authorized the most unorthodox battle plan of his career, a plan that borrowed more from the humans' approach than from Imperial military doctrine. As the officers filed out, Mira remained behind. This strategy carries significant risk, she noted. If it fails, your career will suffer. If it succeeds, Aaron countered, we provide the Emperor with exactly what he wants. A challenging and entertaining conflict. Mira studied him for a moment. Is that all you're concerned with now? The Emperor's entertainment? Aaron didn't immediately answer. The truth was more complex than he cared to admit. Somewhere between the first scout mission and today's battle, his perspective had shifted. These humans, with their adaptive tactics and fierce determination, had earned something more than his clinical assessment. They had earned his respect. The Emperor wants a worthy opponent, he finally said. I intend to show him that these humans are exactly that. The second wave of Imperial attacks launched at dawn, local time, for each target zone. Unlike the first wave's synchronized precision, this assault appeared chaotic and disjointed to outside observation. Fighter squadrons utilized wildly different approach vectors. Support craft deployed unusual electronic countermeasures. Even the weapons configurations varied from vessel to vessel. Earth's defenses, which had performed admirably against the standard Imperial tactics, found themselves struggling to adapt to this new, unpredictable assault. Their coordinated defense zones, so effective earlier, now faced threats that deliberately exploited the boundaries between zones. Southern Command reporting breakthrough in Sector 7, Lieutenant Dorn announced. Fighter Group Kappa has destroyed 3 primary defense nodes. Northern Command reports similar success, added another officer. The humans are attempting to compensate by redeploying mobile platforms, but they can't match our speed. Aaron nodded, watching the tactical display with intense focus. The Imperial forces were making progress, but the cost was higher than standard doctrine would accept. The unpredictable tactics meant that some squadrons suffered significant losses, while others achieved their objectives almost untouched. They're learning, Mira observed, tracking the human response patterns. Each engagement teaches them how to counter a specific approach, but we're not giving them time to disseminate that knowledge effectively. Maintain pressure across all sectors, Aaron ordered. I want their command structure strained to breaking point. The battle raged for hours, with Imperial forces gradually gaining the upper hand through sheer technological superiority and the confusion caused by their varied tactics. By midday, they had destroyed or disabled nearly 40% of Earth's primary defensive installations. Then, just as victory seemed inevitable, the humans unveiled their counterstroke. Captain, we're detecting multiple launches from oceanic positions, reported the sensor officer, urgency in his voice. Hundreds of small craft rising on non-ballistic trajectories. Identification? Aaron demanded. Unknown configuration, sir. They appear to be swarming. The tactical display shifted to show the new threat. Clouds of small vehicles, each no larger than a personal transport, rising from concealed underwater facilities. They moved with incredible agility, accelerating at rates that should have crushed any biological pilot. Unmanned combat vehicles? Mira realized. They've been hiding an entire automated defense fleet. The human drones swarmed toward Imperial fighters with kamikaze determination. Their individual weapons were weak, but their sheer numbers and willingness to sacrifice themselves by ramming Imperial craft quickly turned the tide of battle. Fighter Group Epsilon reports heavy losses, Dorn announced, his voice strained. They're requesting permission to withdraw to high orbit. Group Theta is surrounded, added another officer. Shields failing under concentrated drone attacks. Aaron watched the chaos unfolding, recognizing the elegant simplicity of the human strategy. The Empire relied on qualitative superiority, advanced technology, and trained pilots. The humans had countered with quantitative advantage, expendable drones that could overwhelm through sheer numbers. Order all fighter groups to retreat beyond atmosphere, he commanded. Redirect capital ship targeting to these drone launch facilities. But even as he gave the order, Aaron knew it wouldn't be enough. The drones were already launched, and they pursued the retreating Imperial fighters with single-minded determination. By the time the Imperial vessels reached the safety of high orbit, nearly 30% of the attack force had been destroyed or disabled. A costly lesson, Commander Jax noted grimly as they assessed the damage. But an informative one, Aaron replied. The humans understand asymmetric warfare. They knew they couldn't match our fighters in direct combat. So they developed a counter that exploited our weaknesses, our reliance on quality over quantity, and our hesitation to sacrifice valuable assets. What's our next move, Captain? Mira asked. Aaron studied the tactical display, where the swarms of human drones were now forming a protective barrier in low Earth orbit. Direct assault would mean significant losses, even for capital ships. But orbital bombardment from a safe distance would undermine the very purpose of this campaign, to test the humans in combat, worthy of the Emperor's attention. We adjust again, he decided. Prepare the ground assault teams. We're going to give the humans the direct confrontation they seem to want. The Imperial landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere, under cover of night. Their stealth systems, rendering them nearly invisible to human detection technology. Unlike the fighters of previous engagements, these vessels carried elite Imperial shock troops, soldiers trained for planetary conquest and pacification. Their target was a sprawling military complex in a region the humans called Colorado, a command and control center that coordinated drone operations for the Western Hemisphere. Intelligence suggested it was also the headquarters of General Elena Reyes, the human commander who had so boldly challenged Aaron during their first communication. Captain Aaron Volos had chosen to lead this mission personally. It was unusual for a vessel commander to participate in ground operations, but this campaign had deviated from standard protocols from the beginning. Besides, Aaron found himself increasingly drawn to this conflict, curious to witness the human resistance firsthand. "Drop zone approaching," announced the pilot as the landing craft skimmed over rugged mountain terrain. "Minimal detection activity. Stealth systems holding." Aaron checked his armor systems, one final time. The powered exoskeleton enhanced his already considerable strength and speed, while the integrated weapon systems gave him firepower equivalent to a small squad. Standard equipment for Imperial shock troops, but rarely used by officers of his rank. "Remember," he addressed the 30 soldiers in the craft's hold, "our objective is the command center and its personnel. The Emperor wants prisoners, not corpses. Lethal force is authorized only when necessary." The troops acknowledged with crisp salutes. They were the best the Empire had to offer, veterans of a dozen conquest campaigns, skilled in every aspect of planetary warfare, against a pre-FTL civilization, even one as surprisingly capable as Earth. They should face little challenge. The landing craft touched down in a clearing 2 kilometers from the target. The troops disembarked with practiced efficiency, securing a perimeter, while Aaron consulted the tactical display built into his armor's forearm. "Approach Vector Beta," he ordered. "Maintain stealth protocols until we reach the outer perimeter." The Imperial force moved through the forested terrain with silent precision, their armor's adaptive camouflage blending perfectly with the surrounding darkness. Advanced scouts reported minimal security at the facility's perimeter. A few guard posts, automated surveillance systems easily defeated by Imperial technology, and a perimeter fence that posed no obstacle to their equipment. Too easy, Aaron thought as they reached the edge of the tree line. Either human security was genuinely this lax, or they were walking into an ambush. Given what he'd seen of Earth's military capabilities thus far, he strongly suspected the latter. "Hold position," he ordered, as the facility came into view. Unlike the imposing fortresses of Imperial design, this complex appeared almost civilian in nature. Low buildings spread across a campus-like setting, with minimal visible defenses. "Scan for subsurface structures," Aaron instructed the team's sensor specialist. "Multiple underground levels detected." "Captain," came the reply after a moment. "Extensive facility beneath the visible structures. Energy signatures consistent with command and control systems." Aaron nodded. The visible buildings were likely a decoy, with the real military installation hidden underground. A common enough tactic, though the execution here showed unusual sophistication for a pre-FTL civilization. "Deploy sensor drones," he ordered. "I want a complete tactical assessment before we proceed." The tiny drones, no larger than insects, scattered across the facility grounds, transmitting data back to the Imperial force. They detected numerous hidden defensive emplacements, automated weapon systems cleverly disguised as innocuous infrastructure, and most concerning, unusual energy signatures that didn't match any known human technology in their database. "They're expecting us," Aaron concluded. "Or someone like us. These defenses aren't improvised. They've been in place for some time." "Recommendations, sir?" asked his second-in-command. Aaron considered their options. A direct assault would likely succeed, but at potentially high cost. Imperial shock troops were vastly superior to human soldiers in individual combat, but these prepared defenses could inflict significant casualties before they reached their objective. "We adapt," he decided. "Divide into 3 teams. Alpha team will create a diversion at the main entrance. Beta team will neutralize the power generation facilities here and here." He indicated points on the tactical display. "Gamma team, with me, will infiltrate through this maintenance access point and proceed to the command center." The plan was executed with Imperial precision. Alpha team launched a frontal assault, their heavy weapons overwhelming the facility's outer defenses in a spectacular display of firepower. As human security forces rushed to respond, Beta team struck at the power infrastructure, detonating targeted charges that plunged sections of the complex into darkness. Meanwhile, Aaron led Gamma team to the maintenance access point, a service tunnel that, according to their scans, connected to the underground complex. They encountered minimal resistance, suggesting the human defenders had focused their attention on the more visible threats. "Too easy," muttered one of the soldiers as they breached the tunnel entrance. "Indeed," Aaron agreed. "Maintain maximum alert. This is likely." He never finished the sentence. The tunnel ahead suddenly blazed with intense light, and a shimmering energy field materialized, cutting off their advance. Simultaneously, panels in the walls slid open, revealing weapon emplacements that bore no resemblance to conventional human arms. "Ambush!" Aaron shouted, diving for cover as the weapons discharged. Instead of projectiles or energy beams, they emitted pulses that interfered with the Imperial armor systems. Soldiers stumbled as their exoskeletons momentarily lost power, leaving them vulnerable to secondary attacks. Conventional firearms operated by human soldiers who now emerged from concealed positions. Aaron's combat training took over. Despite his armor's compromised systems, he managed to take down 3 human attackers with precise shots from his sidearm. Around him, his troops were recovering from the initial shock, their superior reflexes and training allowing them to adapt to the unexpected attack. The firefight was intense but brief. The Imperial soldiers quickly adjusted to the humans' tactics, using portable shield generators to protect against the system-disrupting pulses and counterattacking with devastating effect. Within minutes, the human ambush force had been neutralized, though at the cost of 4 Imperial troops. "Clever," Aaron acknowledged as he examined one of the unusual weapons. "They developed technology specifically designed to counter our armor systems." "How could they know our vulnerabilities?" asked his second-in-command. "They couldn't. Not specifically," Aaron replied. "But they designed weapons based on principles that might affect any advanced technology. A shotgun approach, but effective enough." They proceeded deeper into the facility with increased caution. The ambush had confirmed Aaron's suspicion that the humans had been preparing for this type of encounter long before the Empire arrived. The question was, how had they known to prepare? The answer became clear as they reached the central command level. Unlike the sparse, utilitarian design of the upper floors, this area was a marvel of technology. Curved display screens showing real-time battle data, holographic projections of Earth and near-Earth space, and dozens of human operators coordinating defense operations across multiple continents. "Secure the room," Aaron ordered as they burst through the final security door. "Non-lethal measures where possible." The human staff reacted with surprising calm to the sudden appearance of Imperial troops. Some raised their hands in surrender immediately, while others activated emergency protocols before being subdued. Only a few attempted armed resistance, and they were quickly neutralized by stun weapons. Aaron surveyed the command center, impressed despite himself. The technology here, while primitive compared to Imperial standards, was more advanced than anything they'd encountered on Earth thus far. But what truly caught his attention were the displays showing Imperial ship positions with remarkable accuracy, and tactical analyses of Imperial weapon capabilities that were disturbingly precise. "Captain," called one of his troops from across the room, "I believe we found General Reyes." Aaron turned to see a human female being escorted forward, her hands secured behind her back. He recognized her immediately from their earlier communication, the same intense gaze, the same proud bearing despite her current circumstances. "General," he acknowledged, "I must admit, your preparations for our arrival were more thorough than we anticipated." Elena Reyes met his gaze without fear. "We've been preparing for this day for generations, Captain Volos. Not for you specifically, but for the possibility of you." "So I see." Aaron gestured to the displays showing Imperial fleet formations. "Your intelligence-gathering capabilities are impressive. As is your willingness to lead from the front," she countered. "Most conquerors prefer to direct from a safe distance." "The Emperor has a particular interest in this campaign," Aaron explained. "He believes your people will provide worthy opposition." A spark of understanding flashed in Elena's eyes. "This isn't about conquest, is it? This is about sport." Aaron didn't confirm her assessment verbally, but his silence was answer enough. "I see," she continued. "Your Emperor is bored with easy victories, so he wants a challenging fight. Her lips curved in a smile that contained no humor. "Be careful what you wish for, Captain." Before Aaron could respond, the facility shook with a massive explosion. Dust rained from the ceiling, and several display screens went dark. "Report!" Aaron demanded into his comm unit. "Alpha team under heavy attack, sir," came the strained response. "The humans have deployed some kind of modular combat system. Our weapons are ineffective against their shielding." Another explosion rocked the complex, closer this time. "You should have brought more troops, Captain," Elena remarked calmly, despite the chaos erupting around them. Aaron studied her face, noting the lack of surprise or fear. "This counterattack was planned. You knew we would come for this facility." "Of course," she nodded. "Just as we knew you would prioritize capturing our command staff, rather than simply destroying the complex from orbit. Your Emperor wants entertainment? We're happy to oblige." The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. Reports from both Alpha and Beta teams indicated they were facing overwhelming opposition, not from superior numbers, but from human forces equipped with technology far beyond what Imperial intelligence had reported. "Gamma Team, prepare for immediate extraction," Aaron ordered. "Secure the prisoner and any intelligence materials you can carry." As his troops moved to comply, Aaron addressed Elena again. "You've hidden your true technological capabilities. Why reveal them now?" "We haven't revealed everything, Captain," she replied. "Just enough to make your Emperor's game interesting." The facility shook with yet another explosion, and the lights flickered ominously. "Time to go," Aaron decided. "General Reyes, you'll be accompanying us back to the Imperator." "I think not," she said, still remarkably composed given the circumstances. At that moment, the command center's main display activated, showing a tactical feed from orbit. Imperial vessels were under attack from a previously undetected human fleet, not the primitive spacecraft they'd encountered earlier, but vessels of advanced design, employing weapons that somehow bypassed Imperial shields. "As I said," Elena continued, as Aaron stared at the display in shock, "we've been preparing for generations. What you've seen so far has been our conventional forces. This," she nodded toward the screen, "is what we developed specifically for visitors like you." The floor beneath them suddenly glowed with an intense blue light, and Aaron felt the distinctive disorientation of a transport field engaging. But this wasn't Imperial technology. This was something entirely new. "I'm afraid our meeting must be cut short, Captain," Elena said as the blue light intensified around her. "Next time, perhaps we can discuss terms more favorable than simple submission." In a flash of light, she and every human in the command center vanished, transported away by technology that shouldn't exist on a pre-FTL world. Simultaneously, the facility's systems began shutting down, displays going dark as some kind of cascade failure spread through the complex. "Emergency evacuation," Aaron shouted into his comm unit. "All teams fall back to extraction points immediately." As they fought their way back through the now hostile facility, Aaron's mind raced with implications. The humans hadn't just been preparing for alien contact. They'd been actively developing technologies specifically designed to counter advanced interstellar civilizations. Their apparent technological limitations had been an elaborate deception, designed to lure Imperial forces into underestimating them. By the time Gamma Team reached their extraction point, only half of the original assault force remained. The landing craft lifted off under heavy fire from human defense systems that hadn't existed an hour earlier, its shields barely holding against weapons that seemed designed specifically to penetrate Imperial defenses. Aaron strapped himself into a seat as the craft accelerated toward the safety of space, knowing that the situation in orbit might be equally dire. The humans had revealed capabilities far beyond Imperial intelligence estimates, and the carefully orchestrated campaign had suddenly transformed into a desperate fight for survival. Yet, beneath his concern for his troops and his mission, Aaron felt something unexpected, a growing admiration for these humans and their extraordinary preparation. They had anticipated not just the possibility of alien contact, but the specific nature of that contact, developing countermeasures for technologies they had never encountered. The Emperor had wanted worthy opponents. It appeared he had found them. The scene that greeted Arin upon his return to the Imperator was one of controlled chaos. The command deck buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the Imperial fleet's response to the unexpected human counterattack. Tactical displays showed Imperial vessels in defensive formations, exchanging fire with a human fleet that had seemingly materialized from nowhere. "Status report," Arin demanded as he strode onto the deck, still wearing his battle-scarred armor. Commander Jax turned from the main tactical display. "The humans deployed a hidden fleet approximately 30 minutes ago. They emerged from concealed bases on their moon, and in asteroid clusters we had dismissed as natural formations. Current count is 73 vessels of various classes, all employing technology far beyond our intelligence estimates. Casualties? We've lost 3 light cruisers and numerous support craft. The dreadnought Dominion has sustained heavy damage to its propulsion systems. Our fighters are holding their own, but the humans are employing unusual swarm tactics that make traditional engagement problematic." Arin studied the tactical display, noting the human fleet's formation. Unlike the rigid, hierarchical structures favored by Imperial doctrine, the Earth vessels operated in fluid, adaptable groups that seemed to communicate and coordinate with remarkable efficiency. "Where did they get this technology?" Jax asked, his voice low enough that only Arin could hear. "No pre-FTL civilization should have these capabilities." "They developed it themselves," Arin replied, recalling Elena's words. "They've been preparing for this possibility for generations." Before Jax could respond, Major Mira Shan joined them, her expression grave. "Captain, preliminary analysis of the human vessels suggests they're employing adaptive shield technology that reconfigures in response to our weapons. Each hit becomes progressively less effective as their systems learn our energy signatures. Can we counter it? Not without major recalibration of our weapon systems. Their approach is unorthodox. Rather than trying to create an impenetrable barrier, they've designed shields that absorb and analyze incoming energy, then adapt specifically to that form." Arin nodded, beginning to understand the human approach. "They don't try to perfect a single system. They create systems that improve through conflict." "Exactly," Mira confirmed. "It's the same principle we observed in their drone tactics and ground defenses. Their technology is designed to learn and adapt in real time." "A species that thrives on adversity," Arin murmured, repeating his earlier assessment with new appreciation. The communications officer interrupted their discussion. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It's General Reyes." "On screen," Arin ordered, curious about what the human commander would say after her dramatic escape. Elena Reyes appeared on the main display, now dressed in what appeared to be a space-worthy uniform, rather than the ground forces attire she'd worn earlier. Behind her, a command center similar to the one Arin had briefly captured hummed with activity. "Captain Volos," she greeted him with remarkable composure. "I trust you've had time to reassess the situation." "You concealed your true capabilities," Arin replied, maintaining an equally calm demeanor despite the circumstances. "A clever strategy. We've had a long time to think about how to approach first contact with a technologically advanced civilization," Elena explained. Our history suggests that when cultures with disparate technology levels meet, the less advanced typically suffers. We decided to even the odds. By developing technology specifically designed to counter advanced weaponry you'd never encountered," Arin observed. "Impressive foresight." Elena smiled slightly. "When you spend centuries imagining possible threats, you develop solutions for them. even if they never materialize. And now, Aaron asked, your fleet has achieved tactical surprise, but the Empire's resources are vast. This is merely the vanguard of our forces. We're aware of Imperial capabilities, Elena replied. Our observational outposts have been monitoring your expansion for decades. We know precisely what we're facing. This revelation stunned Aaron into momentary silence. The humans had known about the Empire before the Empire discovered them. It seemed impossible. Yet, it would explain their extraordinary level of preparation. What do you propose, General? He finally asked. A demonstration, she replied. In approximately 3 minutes, your dreadnought Dominion will lose all power to its weapon systems. No permanent damage will be inflicted, and life support will remain operational. Consider it a proof of concept. Aaron glanced at Commander Jax, who was already checking the tactical display showing the Dominion status. Impossible, Jax muttered. Their weapons couldn't penetrate the dreadnought's defenses so precisely. Yet, exactly 3 minutes later, alarms sounded across the command deck as reports flooded in. The Dominion's weapons had indeed gone offline simultaneously, while all other systems remained functional. Whatever the humans had deployed, it had bypassed the most sophisticated defensive systems in the Imperial fleet with surgical precision. As you can see, Captain, Elena continued, we possess capabilities that your intelligence failed to detect. We could have deployed this technology against your entire fleet, but chose a limited demonstration instead. To what end? Aaron asked, though he was beginning to understand the human strategy. To establish that this conflict need not be one-sided, Elena explained. Your Emperor wants worthy opponents. We are prepared to oblige, not as subjects to be conquered, but as equals testing their capabilities against one another. The audacity of the proposal was breathtaking. No civilization had ever suggested such terms to the Empire. Conquest was the only relationship the Empire established with other worlds, complete submission or complete destruction. Yet, this was precisely what the Emperor had sought, an opponent worthy of Imperial attention, a conflict that would provide entertainment rather than mere territorial expansion. You propose combat for its own sake, Aaron said, testing his understanding of her offer. We propose combat as a form of communication, Elena corrected. Your culture values strength and skill in battle. Ours values innovation and adaptability. Let us demonstrate these qualities to each other without the need for planetary destruction or subjugation. Aaron considered the proposal. It was unprecedented, yet it aligned perfectly with the Emperor's unusual directive for this campaign. And after witnessing the humans' hidden capabilities firsthand, he was increasingly convinced that standard conquest protocols would result in Pyrrhic victory at best. I will convey your proposal to Imperial Command, he finally decided. Until I receive their response, I propose a temporary cessation of hostilities. Agreed, Elena nodded. We'll maintain our current positions but will take no offensive action unless provoked. As the transmission ended, Aaron turned to face his senior officers. Their expressions ranged from shock to outrage at the unprecedented situation. You're considering their proposal, Commander Jax asked incredulously. This violates every principle of Imperial expansion. The Emperor's directive for this campaign already violated those principles. Aaron pointed out. He sought worthy opponents, not simple conquest. The humans have proven themselves precisely that. They deceived us, another officer objected, hid their true capabilities until they could strike at maximum advantage. As would any intelligent species facing a technologically superior invader, Mira interjected. We would do the same in their position. Aaron nodded in agreement. Prepare a complete report for Imperial Command. Include all data on the human fleet's capabilities and the precision of their strike against the Dominion. I want the Emperor to understand exactly what we're facing. As his officers dispersed to carry out his orders, Aaron remained at the tactical display, studying the human fleet's formation. Their vessels maintained perfect position relative to the Imperial fleet, close enough to respond to any aggression, yet not so close as to appear threatening. It was a delicate balance that spoke to considerable tactical sophistication. Major Mira joined him, her expression thoughtful. Their proposal is unprecedented, but it may offer the best outcome given the circumstances. You believe they could genuinely challenge us? Aaron asked. I believe they've already demonstrated capabilities we didn't think possible for a pre-FTL civilization, she replied. Their technological adaptation curve exceeds anything in our historical database. Given time, they might not merely challenge us, they might surpass us. The thought should have been disturbing to an Imperial officer, yet Aaron found himself intrigued rather than alarmed. These humans, with their unusual approach to conflict and their remarkable adaptive capabilities, represented something the Empire hadn't encountered in centuries: genuine novelty. The Emperor wanted entertainment, he mused. I believe he's about to get it. Imperial Command's response arrived 12 hours later, encrypted with the Emperor's personal cipher. Aaron read the message in the privacy of his quarters, half expecting a rebuke for his failure to achieve quick victory, or orders to escalate the conflict regardless of potential losses. Instead, he found something entirely unexpected: approval. The Emperor, it seemed, was delighted by the humans' surprising capabilities and audacious proposal. Far from being angered by their resistance, he viewed it as confirmation of his initial assessment. These humans were indeed worthy opponents. He authorized Aaron to pursue the humans' suggestion of combat as communication, with specific parameters to ensure the conflict remained entertaining without threatening Imperial strategic interests. Most surprising was the final section of the message, which Aaron had to read twice to ensure he understood correctly. These humans have demonstrated principles of adaptive warfare that may have application within Imperial forces. You are authorized to engage in limited technological exchange as part of this experimental conflict paradigm. The knowledge gained may prove valuable beyond mere entertainment. The Emperor, it seemed, saw potential value in human innovation, a radical departure from the Empire's usual dismissal of primitive technologies. It was an unprecedented opportunity, both for Aaron's career and for the evolution of Imperial military doctrine. With renewed purpose, Aaron summoned his senior staff to develop terms for this unusual arrangement. The meeting lasted well into the ship's night cycle, as officers accustomed to conquest protocols struggled to conceptualize a conflict designed for mutual benefit rather than subjugation. We need controlled engagement zones, Commander Jack suggested, gradually warming to the concept. Designated areas where both sides can deploy forces without risking civilian populations or critical infrastructure. The lunar surface would be ideal for ground force exercises, added the ground forces commander. Neutral territory with no indigenous population. And the asteroid belt for space combat simulations, Mira proposed. Complex terrain that would test navigation and tactical systems without endangering planetary bodies. Aaron nodded, impressed by how quickly his officers were adapting to this unprecedented situation. These are excellent suggestions. We should also establish protocols for technological observation and limited exchange. The Emperor has authorized sharing of non-critical systems if the humans offer comparable innovations. By morning, they had developed a comprehensive proposal for what Mira had termed collaborative conflict engagement, a framework that would allow both human and Imperial forces to test their capabilities against one another without the devastating consequences of full-scale war. Aaron transmitted their proposal to General Reyes, requesting a face-to-face meeting to discuss the details. Her response came within the hour, agreeing to the meeting but suggesting a neutral location rather than either fleet's command vessel. The lunar outpost you established would be suitable, she proposed. Both sides are already familiar with it, and it offers neutral ground for our discussion. Aaron agreed, Recognizing the symbolic significance of meeting at the site, where Imperial forces had first established a permanent presence in Earth's vicinity. It represented the beginning of their conflict, and now might serve as the beginning of something entirely new. The journey to the lunar outpost was tense, with both human and Imperial escort vessels maintaining careful distance from one another. Aaron had chosen to bring only Mira and Commander Jax as his advisors, matching the small delegation Elena had indicated would accompany her. The outpost itself had been partially damaged during the recent fighting, with several exterior structures showing signs of weapon impacts. Imperial engineers had made hasty repairs, restoring life support and basic functionality to the main command center where the meeting would take place. Aaron arrived first, using the time to inspect the facility and ensure security protocols were in place. The humans, he had learned, were nothing if not unpredictable, and while he believed Elena's proposal was genuine, caution remained prudent. The human delegation arrived precisely on schedule, their shuttle displaying remarkable maneuverability as it navigated to the designated landing pad. Elena emerged first, accompanied by two officers, a male with Asian features wearing what appeared to be a pilot's insignia, and a female whose uniform indicated a scientific or technical specialization. General Reyes, Aaron greeted her formally as they met in the outpost's central chamber. "Welcome to Imperial Outpost Luna 1. "Captain Volos," she replied with equal formality. "Allow me to introduce Major Kai Nakamura, our Space Combat Operations Coordinator, and Dr. Sophia Chen, Chief of Technological Adaptation." Aaron introduced his own officers, noting with interest how the humans studied Mira with particular attention. As the Empire's intelligence expert, she represented both a potential source of information and a threat to their own operational security. "I must admit," Elena continued once the introductions were complete, "when we first detected your observation posts, we expected a very different type of first contact. The standard Imperial protocol would indeed have been different," Aaron acknowledged. "The Emperor's interest in your species created a unique opportunity." Elena's expression revealed nothing, but her voice carried a hint of irony. "We're honored to provide entertainment for your Emperor." "You misunderstand," Aaron replied, recognizing the potential for diplomatic misstep. "The Emperor's interest has elevated your world's status. Instead of simple conquest, you're being offered a relationship no other civilization has achieved with the Empire." "A relationship based on mutual combat," Elena noted. "Combat as communication," Aaron countered, using her own phrase from their earlier exchange. "Your proposal intrigued the Emperor precisely because it aligns with Imperial values, while respecting your own sovereignty." The tension in the room eased slightly, as both delegations recognized the genuine opportunity before them. What had begun as invasion and resistance had evolved into something far more complex, a potential partnership that might benefit both civilizations. The negotiations proceeded with surprising smoothness. Both sides had prepared detailed proposals for controlled engagement scenarios, and the areas of overlap were substantial. The humans, it seemed, had given as much thought to the concept of combat as communication as the Imperial staff had. "We propose 3 primary engagement zones," Aaron explained, activating a holographic display of the Earth-Moon system. Lunar surface for ground combat exercises, cislunar space for fighter engagements, and the asteroid belt for capital ship maneuvers. "Acceptable," Elena nodded. "With the addition of deep space engagements beyond Neptune's orbit for long-range combat simulations," the discussion continued for hours, establishing protocols for everything from weapons limitations to medical support for casualties. Both sides agreed that while injuries were inevitable in genuine combat scenarios, fatalities should be minimized through technological safeguards and immediate medical intervention. Most complex were the arrangements for technological exchange, The Empire was willing to share certain non-critical systems in exchange for human innovations that had proved effective against Imperial technology. "Your adaptive shield systems are of particular interest," Mira noted, addressing Dr. Chen directly. "The principles behind them could have applications beyond mere defensive systems." "As your modular weapons platforms interest us," Dr. Chen replied, "the Empire's approach to energy efficiency exceeds our current capabilities." By the end's day, they had established the framework for what Elena termed the Earth Imperial Combat Exchange Protocol, a comprehensive agreement that would transform potential planetary destruction into a regulated series of military exercises and technological exchanges. As the formal negotiations concluded, Aaron found himself in private conversation with Elena, while their respective staffs finalized technical details. "Your Emperor's interest in combat for its own sake initially struck me as primitive," Elena admitted. "But I've come to see a certain wisdom in it. Controlled conflict can drive innovation and mutual understanding in ways peaceful exchange cannot. The Empire was founded on the principle that strength must be demonstrated, not merely claimed," Aaron explained. "Over millennia, that evolved into a culture that values combat prowess above all else. Your proposal offers a way to honor that tradition without the unnecessary destruction conquest typically entails." Elena studied him with those intense eyes that had first captured his attention during their initial communication. "And what does Captain Aaron Volos value beyond Imperial doctrine?" The question caught him off guard. As an Imperial officer, his personal values were seldom relevant. Service to the Empire and adherence to its principles were all that mattered. Yet his experiences with these humans had awakened something long dormant, a curiosity about alternatives to the Empire's relentless expansion. "I value competence," he finally replied. "Skill and innovation, regardless of its source. Your people have demonstrated both in abundance." "High praise from an Imperial officer," Elena noted with the ghost of a smile. "Earned praise," Aaron corrected. "What began as the Emperor's entertainment has become something far more significant, an opportunity for both our civilizations to evolve through challenge rather than conflict." As their delegations prepared to depart, Aaron and Elena formalized their agreement with a gesture that bridged their different customs, a clasping of forearms that was neither quite an imperial salute nor a human handshake, but something new that acknowledged both traditions. "Two worthy opponents," Elena said as they completed the gesture. "And unexpected allies," Aaron added, surprising himself with the sentiment. The journey back to the Imperator gave Aaron time to reflect on the extraordinary turn of events. What had begun as a standard conquest mission, albeit with unusual parameters, had transformed into the most unique diplomatic arrangement in Imperial history. The humans would retain their independence while engaging Imperial forces in controlled combat scenarios that would test both sides' capabilities without the devastating consequences of true war. The Emperor would have his entertainment. The Empire would gain valuable insights into human adaptive technology, and Earth would have the opportunity to learn from Imperial systems without the threat of subjugation. It was an arrangement that would have been inconceivable mere weeks ago, yet now seemed the most logical outcome given the circumstances. As the Imperator came into view, its imposing silhouette backlit by Earth's distant sun, Aaron found himself anticipating the coming exchanges with unexpected enthusiasm. These humans, with their unusual approach to conflict and their remarkable adaptive capabilities, represented something the Empire desperately needed, though it didn't realize it, a challenge that would prevent stagnation. The Emperor had sought worthy opponents for entertainment. He had found instead potential partners in evolution, a species whose very approach to conflict might transform the Empire itself. "Combat as communication," Aaron murmured, watching Earth's blue curve on the view screen. "Perhaps the humans have more to teach us than we realized." The first official combat exchange took place 1 month later on the lunar surface, a carefully orchestrated engagement between elite Imperial shock troops and Earth's specialized space combat units. The parameters were precisely defined: limited weapon configurations, designated engagement zone, and medical teams standing by to address any injuries. Aaron observed from a command post, overlooking the engagement zone, joined by Elena and representatives from both military hierarchies. The barren lunar landscape provided the perfect arena for their experiment. Neutral territory, with no indigenous life to endanger and minimal strategic value to either side. Your troops are adapting quickly to lunar gravity, Elena noted as they watched Imperial soldiers executing maneuvers that would be impossible on a standard gravity world. As yours are compensating for their environmental suits with impressive agility, Aaron replied, observing how the human forces utilized specialized equipment that enhanced their mobility despite the bulkier protection their physiology required. The engagement unfolded like a complex dance, with each side probing the other's defenses and adjusting tactics in real time. Imperial forces relied on their superior physical capabilities and standardized tactics, while the humans employed constant adaptation and unexpected maneuvers. "Fascinating," commented Dr. Chen, who had joined the observation team. "Your soldiers operate almost as a single organism, while ours function more like independent cells within a larger system. Different evolutionary paths lead to different combat philosophies," Mira observed. Imperial forces evolved from a warrior culture that valued individual excellence within rigid hierarchies. Human military development appears more collaborative. The engagement ended in what could only be described as a draw. The Imperial forces had achieved greater territorial control, but the humans had inflicted more casualties, as measured by the simulation systems monitoring the exercise. "An enlightening exchange," Aaron acknowledged as they reviewed the data afterward. "Your force's adaptability compensates effectively for their physical limitations. While your standardization creates efficiency, we struggle to match," Elena added. "There are lessons for both sides here." This pattern repeated across numerous engagements over the following months. Space combat exercises in the asteroid belt, fighter squadron duels in cislunar space, even simulated planetary defense scenarios. Each exchange revealed strengths and weaknesses in both sides' approaches, and each led to subtle adaptations in tactics and technology. Most significant were the technological exchanges that accompanied these combat exercises. As agreed, both sides shared limited innovations that had proven effective in their engagements. The Empire provided insights into energy efficiency and materials science, while Earth offered advances in adaptive systems and unorthodox applications of fundamental principles. Aaron found himself increasingly involved in these exchanges, his natural curiosity about human innovation overriding the typical Imperial dismissal of primitive technology. He spent hours in discussion with Dr. Chen and her team, exploring the philosophical differences that underpin their divergent technological approaches. "Your systems are elegant in their standardization," Dr. Chen observed during one such session. "Every component optimized for maximum efficiency within predetermined parameters. While yours sacrifice peak efficiency for adaptability," Aaron noted, "allowing for suboptimal performance in expected scenarios to achieve functionality in unexpected ones. Different responses to different evolutionary pressures," she explained. "Your empire expanded through thousands of similar star systems, encountering comparable challenges that rewarded standardization. Earth developed in isolation, facing constantly changing conditions that rewarded adaptation." These philosophical discussions extended beyond the formal technological exchanges, gradually building a bridge of understanding between the two civilizations. Imperial officers who had initially viewed humans with dismissive superiority began to recognize the value in their unorthodox approaches. Human specialists who had feared Imperial technology came to appreciate the elegant efficiency of their designs. Your Emperor's entertainment has evolved into something more significant, Elena remarked to Aaron during a private moment following a particularly successful engagement. Our forces are learning from each other in ways neither side anticipated. Indeed, Aaron agreed. The combat exchange has become a laboratory for both civilizations, a controlled environment where ideas can be tested without the desperation of actual war. And yet, Elena added, her expression growing more serious, we both know this arrangement remains precarious. Your Emperor's interest could wane, or our own leadership might grow suspicious of Imperial intentions. She was right. Of course. The unprecedented nature of their arrangement made it inherently unstable. The Empire had never maintained a relationship with another civilization that wasn't based on dominance and submission. Earth had never faced a power with the capability to destroy it utterly. Their combat exchange existed in the narrow space between these realities, a temporary equilibrium that could collapse at any moment. We should formalize the arrangement, Arin suggested, after a moment's consideration. Establish a permanent framework for continued exchange that serves both our interests beyond the Emperor's entertainment. What did you have in mind? Elena asked, clearly intrigued. A joint combat academy, Aaron proposed. A facility where both Imperial and human forces could train together, sharing techniques and technologies under controlled conditions. It would provide ongoing value to both civilizations while maintaining the spirit of the combat exchange. The idea took root quickly, with both human and Imperial authorities recognizing its potential benefits. Within weeks, plans were developed for an expansive facility on the lunar surface, neutral ground where both civilizations could meet as equals in the pursuit of combat excellence. The Emperor, initially skeptical of this evolution beyond simple entertainment, was won over by the potential for Imperial forces to incorporate human adaptive techniques into their own doctrine. Earth's various governments, still wary of Imperial power, saw the Academy as a way to continue learning from advanced technology while maintaining their independence. Construction began immediately, with Imperial engineers working alongside human counterparts to create a facility unlike any in the galaxy, a place where two fundamentally different approaches to warfare could be studied, tested, and gradually integrated. As the Academy took shape, Arin found himself increasingly invested in its success. What had begun as a standard conquest mission had transformed into the most significant diplomatic initiative of his career, perhaps of Imperial history. The combat exchange had evolved from the Emperor's entertainment into a genuine partnership that might benefit both civilizations for generations to come. You seem preoccupied, Mira observed, as they reviewed plans for the Academy's Tactical Simulation Center. I'm considering the implications, Aaron replied. This academy represents a fundamental shift in Imperial policy. We've never engaged with another civilization as equals before. Is that what we're doing? Mira asked, her tone neutral but her eyes sharp. Treating humans as equals. The question gave Aaron pause. Imperial doctrine was clear. All non-imperial civilizations were inherently inferior, suitable only for subjugation or elimination. Yet his experiences with humans over the past months had challenged this fundamental assumption. Their technological innovations, their adaptive strategies, their sheer determination in the face of superior force, all suggested a species worthy of respect rather than conquest. I believe we're recognizing mutual value, he finally answered. The Empire's strength has always come from incorporating the best elements of conquered civilizations. This is simply a more efficient approach. Mira didn't seem entirely convinced, but she nodded acceptance of his explanation. The Emperor appears to agree, for now. But remember, Captain, Imperial policy can change with a single command. Her warning lingered in Arin's mind as the Academy neared completion. The facility was a marvel of collaborative engineering, Imperial precision combined with human innovation to create training grounds, simulation chambers, and research laboratories where both civilizations could study the art of war together. The inauguration ceremony was scheduled to coincide with the one-year anniversary of the first Imperial Scouts entering Earth's atmosphere. Both human and Imperial dignitaries would attend, formalizing the combat exchange into a permanent arrangement that would transcend the Emperor's initial entertainment directive. As Aaron prepared for the ceremony aboard the Imperator, a priority communication arrived from Imperial Command. The encryption indicated it came directly from the Emperor's inner circle, a rare occurrence that immediately set Aaron on alert. The message was brief but clear. The Emperor himself would attend the Academy's inauguration, traveling to the Earth-Moon system aboard his personal dreadnought. It was an unprecedented honor. The Emperor rarely left the Imperial core systems, and never to visit a non-conquered world. "This changes everything," Mira noted when Aaron shared the news. "The Emperor's personal attention elevates this project beyond a mere military exchange. Or places it under greater scrutiny," Aaron countered, aware that the Emperor's direct involvement could either cement the Academy's future or end it with a single command. The news of the Emperor's impending arrival sent waves of activity through both human and Imperial forces. Security protocols were enhanced, ceremonial details refined, and diplomatic preparations accelerated. The Academy itself underwent final inspections, with both sides determined to showcase their best work. Aaron found himself working closely with Elena to ensure the inauguration proceeded flawlessly. Their professional relationship had evolved over the months of collaboration, developing into something approaching friendship, a concept foreign to Imperial hierarchy, but one Aaron found increasingly valuable. "Your Emperor's attendance is unexpected," Elena remarked as they reviewed security arrangements. "Is this a positive development for our arrangement?" "Potentially," Aaron replied honestly. "The Emperor's personal investment would protect the Academy from bureaucratic interference. However, his direct observation also means greater scrutiny of its value to Imperial interests." Elena studied him for a moment. "And what do you believe that value to be, Captain?" It was a dangerous question, one that required Aaron to articulate thoughts he had barely acknowledged to himself. The past year had transformed his perspective in ways that would be considered heretical by strict Imperial doctrine. He had come to see humans not merely as worthy opponents, but as valuable partners whose different approach to conflict might complement Imperial strength rather than submit to it. "I believe," he said carefully, "that both our civilizations face challenges beyond our current capabilities. The Empire has reached the limits of expansion through standard conquest protocols. Earth faces technological hurdles that limit its development. Together, we might overcome these limitations more effectively than either could alone." "A partnership rather than subjugation," Elena observed. "Not exactly standard Imperial policy." "The Emperor authorized this arrangement," Aaron reminded her. "His interest extends beyond mere entertainment to the potential for Imperial evolution." Whether he truly believed this or was merely hoping for it, Aaron couldn't entirely say. The Emperor's motives were often inscrutable, his apparent whims concealing deeper strategic calculations. The combat exchange may have begun as entertainment, but its continuation suggested recognition of its broader value. The Emperor's dreadnought arrived with characteristic Imperial grandeur, a vessel 3 times the size of the Imperator. Its hull, adorned with the symbols of 1,000 conquered worlds. It took position in lunar orbit, overshadowing the Academy below with its imposing silhouette. Aaron was summoned aboard immediately, instructed to provide a personal briefing on the combat exchange and its evolution into the Academy project. It was a rare honor, and a perilous opportunity that could define his future in the Imperial hierarchy. The Emperor's audience chamber aboard the dreadnought reflected his status as absolute ruler of the galaxy's largest civilization, vast and imposing. Its walls displayed holographic representations of conquered worlds and successful campaigns. At its center, upon an elevated dais, sat the Emperor himself, physically unimpressive by imperial standards, yet radiating an authority that transcended mere physical presence. "Captain Volos," the Emperor acknowledged, as Aaron performed the formal prostration required by protocol. "Rise and report on this unusual arrangement you've established with the humans." Aaron rose, maintaining the precise posture expected in the imperial presence. "Majesty, as commanded, we engaged the humans in combat to test their worthiness as opponents. Their response exceeded all projections, demonstrating technological innovation and tactical adaptation beyond their apparent development level. So I have observed from your reports," the Emperor replied, his tone neutral. "What was not expected was your transformation of a simple combat assessment into this elaborate exchange program. The opportunity presented itself." "Majesty," Aaron replied carefully, "the humans' unusual approach to conflict offered insights that could benefit Imperial forces beyond the entertainment value of the engagement." The Emperor studied him with unnerving intensity. "You believe these primitives have something to teach the Empire?" It was a dangerous question, one that could be interpreted as either genuine curiosity or a test of Aaron's loyalty to Imperial supremacy. He chose his words with extreme care. "They have developed adaptive systems that compensate for their technological limitations in ways we had not considered. Majesty, their approach to warfare is fundamentally different from ours, not superior, but complementary in certain applications. By studying these differences in controlled conditions, we can incorporate beneficial elements into Imperial doctrine while maintaining our fundamental superiority." The Emperor remained silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Aaron maintained perfect stillness, aware that his career, perhaps his life, hung on the Emperor's assessment of this unprecedented arrangement. "Show me," the Emperor finally commanded. "Majesty, show me these humans and their supposedly innovative combat techniques. I will observe them myself and determine their value to the Empire." Relief and apprehension flooded through Aaron simultaneously. The Emperor's willingness to observe personally was a positive sign. Yet it also meant the combat exchange would face the most critical evaluation possible. "Of course, Majesty. A demonstration has been prepared for the inauguration ceremony. I will ensure it showcases the most significant innovations we've observed." The Emperor made a dismissive gesture. "Not a prepared demonstration. I wish to see genuine combat between Imperial and human forces. Arrange it immediately." Aaron hesitated, recognizing the implications of this command. "Majesty, the combat exchange operates under carefully negotiated protocols to ensure safety, to minimize casualties." The Emperor's tone hardened. "Such concerns are irrelevant. If these humans are truly worthy opponents, they should be prepared to demonstrate their capabilities under authentic combat conditions." There was no arguing with an Imperial command. Aaron bowed deeply. "As you wish, Majesty. I will make the necessary arrangements." Dismissed from the Emperor's presence, Aaron returned to the Lunar Academy with the impossible task of transforming a ceremonial inauguration into a genuine combat demonstration with minimal warning. The implications were enormous. Lives would be at risk, and the carefully constructed relationship between Imperial and human forces could collapse if the engagement went poorly. He found Elena overseeing final preparations for the ceremony, unaware of the dramatic change in plans. "We need to speak privately," he said without preamble. Her expression shifted immediately. Recognizing the urgency in his tone, they moved to a secure conference room, away from the bustle of preparation. "The Emperor has commanded a genuine combat demonstration," Aaron explained, once they were alone. "Not the ceremonial exchange we planned, but actual combat between our forces." Elena's expression remained carefully neutral, though Aaron could see the calculation in her eyes. "That complicates matters. The safety protocols would be minimal," Aaron finished. The Emperor wants to assess your capabilities under authentic conditions. You mean he wants to see blood, Elena said flatly. Aaron didn't deny it. The Emperor's interest in your species began with your potential as worthy opponents. The evolution toward mutual exchange came later. Elena paced the small room, considering the implications. This places both of us in a difficult position. Captain, my authority doesn't extend to authorizing a potentially lethal engagement without proper consultation. Nor does mine, Aaron admitted. But the Emperor's command overrides all protocols. If we refuse... He didn't need to finish the thought. Both understood the precariousness of their position. The combat exchange existed at the Emperor's pleasure, a pleasure that could turn to wrath if his direct command was thwarted. There may be a middle path, Elena suggested, after a moment's consideration. A demonstration that satisfies the Emperor's desire for authentic combat, while maintaining some measure of control over the outcome. What do you propose? A space combat scenario in the designated asteroid field zone. Real vessels, real weapons, but with yield limiters engaged and emergency protocols in place. Enough danger to demonstrate genuine skill, but with safeguards against catastrophic losses. It was a reasonable compromise, one that might satisfy the Emperor's demand for authentic combat, while preserving the trust they'd built between their forces. Aaron nodded slowly. It could work. The asteroid field provides natural complexity that would showcase both sides' tactical adaptability. We would need our best pilots and commanders. I'll lead the human contingent personally, Elena stated. Aaron raised an eyebrow. That places you at considerable risk, General. As you would be at risk leading the Imperial forces, she countered. Unless you plan to observe from safety while ordering others into danger? It was a challenge Aaron couldn't ignore. I'll command the Imperial squadron. 3 vessels each, cruiser class with fighter support. Agreed. We can be ready within 6 hours. The preparations moved with remarkable speed, both sides recognizing the importance of the impromptu demonstration. Selected crews were briefed, vessels prepared, and the asteroid field engagement zone secured. The inauguration ceremony was quietly postponed, with dignitaries informed only that a special demonstration would precede the formal events. Aaron chose the Imperator and 2 support cruisers for the Imperial contingent, selecting his most skilled officers and pilots for the engagement. The human forces would be led by Elena aboard their flagship Defiant, accompanied by 2 vessels of comparable capability. As Aaron prepared in his quarters aboard the Imperator, Mira arrived with a final intelligence update. The human vessels have been modified since our last encounter, she reported. New shield configurations and what appears to be a modular weapon system we haven't observed before. Holding back innovations for a crucial moment, Aaron noted. Tactically sound. The Emperor will be observing from his dreadnought, Mira continued. His expectations are significant. Aaron understood the unspoken warning. This demonstration had evolved beyond a simple test of combat capabilities. It had become a pivotal moment that would define the relationship between their civilizations moving forward. The humans understand what's at stake, he assured her. They'll provide a worthy demonstration without forcing us into a position where we must respond with overwhelming force. And if they don't? Mira asked quietly. Aaron had no answer. The delicate balance they had maintained over the past year could easily collapse into genuine conflict. The Emperor's directive had always contained this risk. That entertainment might transform into conquest at any moment. The Imperial squadron took position at the edge of the designated asteroid field. The Imperator, flanked by its support cruisers in standard formation. Across the field, the human vessels appeared, their sleek designs reflecting a different approach to space combat, emphasizing maneuverability over raw firepower. All systems at combat readiness, reported Commander Jax from the tactical station. Weapon yields limited to demonstration parameters, but otherwise fully operational. Acknowledged, Aaron replied. open communication with the Defiant. Elena's image appeared on the main display, her expression composed despite the tension evident in her posture. She had donned full combat armor for the engagement, a symbolic choice that emphasized the authentic nature of the demonstration. General Reyes, Aaron greeted her formally. Are your forces prepared for the demonstration? Ready and eager. Captain Volos, she replied with equal formality. Standard engagement protocols apply. Limited yield weapons, emergency extraction for critical damage, and designated safe zones for withdrawal if necessary. Confirmed. We begin on the Emperor's signal. The Emperor's dreadnought loomed in the distance, positioned for optimal observation of the engagement zone. A simple coded transmission confirmed his readiness. Commence demonstration. Aaron addressed his crew. All stations. Execute combat pattern Epsilon. Fighters launch at will. Remember, this is a demonstration of Imperial capability against worthy opponents. Fight with skill and honor. The engagement began with a coordinated fighter deployment from both sides. Imperial craft moved in precise formations, showcasing the disciplined approach that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Human fighters adopted a more fluid strategy, constantly adjusting their groupings to respond to the shifting tactical situation. As the capital ships advanced into the asteroid field, the true complexity of the engagement revealed itself. The massive floating rocks created a three-dimensional maze that required constant navigation adjustments and limited sensor effectiveness. Here, the humans' adaptive approach showed its value, their vessels weaving through narrow gaps with remarkable precision while maintaining coordinated fire against Imperial targets. They're using the asteroids to fragment our formation, Jax observed, as the human vessels executed a complex maneuver that forced the Imperial cruisers to separate. Attempting to isolate and focus fire on individual targets? Counter with tactical pattern Theta, Aaron ordered. Use the larger asteroids for cover, while our fighters flank their position. The battle evolved rapidly, with both sides demonstrating impressive capabilities. Imperial technology maintained its edge in raw power, but the humans compensated with innovative tactics and unexpected applications of their seemingly inferior systems. Most surprising was their use of the modular weapon systems Mira had identified. Unlike Imperial weapons that optimized for maximum effect in standard configurations, the human systems could be reconfigured during combat, adjusting energy patterns and delivery methods to exploit weaknesses they discovered in Imperial defenses. Their lead vessel is targeting our port shield generators, Jax reported. They've recalibrated their weapons to the exact resonance frequency of our defensive field. Rotate shield harmonics and return fire, Aaron ordered. Target their propulsion systems. Let's see how they adapt to reduced mobility. The Imperator's main batteries discharged, sending precisely calibrated energy bursts toward the Defiant. The human vessel executed an impossible turn, using a nearby asteroid's gravity to amplify its thruster's effect and narrowly avoiding the full impact of the Imperial weapons. Impressive maneuver, Aaron acknowledged. They're using the environmental conditions to compensate for technological disadvantage. The engagement continued for nearly an hour, with neither side gaining decisive advantage. Imperial forces demonstrated superior firepower and defensive capabilities, while the humans showcased remarkable adaptability and tactical innovation. Both suffered damage, minor systems failures, temporary shield collapses, fighter losses, but nothing catastrophic that would force withdrawal. It was, Aaron realized, the perfect demonstration of what the combat exchange represented. Two fundamentally different approaches to warfare testing each other, without seeking destruction. The Emperor was witnessing not just human capabilities, but the potential value of studying and incorporating their adaptive techniques into Imperial doctrine. As the engagement reached its natural conclusion, with both sides having demonstrated their primary capabilities, Aaron received an unexpected transmission from the Emperor's dreadnought. Escalate to decisive outcome. The implication was clear. The Emperor wasn't satisfied with a demonstration that ended in effective stalemate. He wanted to see one side achieve victory, regardless of the increased risk to personnel and vessels. Arin hesitated, aware that escalation would transform this carefully managed demonstration into something far more dangerous. The limited weapon yields had prevented serious damage thus far, but removing those limitations could result in actual destruction and casualties. "Captain," Jax prompted, awaiting orders. Making a swift decision, Aaron opened a private channel to the Defiant. "General Reyes, I've received a command to escalate the engagement to decisive outcome. The Emperor wants a clear victor." Elena's expression remained composed, but her eyes reflected understanding of the implications. "That changes the parameters significantly, Captain." "Indeed. I propose we maintain the current weapon yield limitations, but execute a simulated critical strike. Your vessels could appear to suffer catastrophic system failures, demonstrating Imperial superiority without actual destruction." It was a dangerous proposal, essentially staging an outcome rather than allowing genuine combat to determine the victor. If the Emperor detected the deception, the consequences would be severe. Elena considered for only a moment before nodding. "Agreed. We'll execute emergency protocols and simulate critical systems failure on my mark. Make it look convincing, Captain." The communication ended, and Aaron immediately issued new orders to his squadron. "Execute attack pattern Omega. Concentrate all fire on the Defiance command section. Make it appear that we're delivering a killing stroke, but maintain current yield limitations." The Imperial vessels moved with precise coordination, repositioning for the simulated kill shot. The human vessels responded with convincing desperation, attempting evasive maneuvers while appearing increasingly vulnerable. When the Imperator's main batteries fired in a synchronized barrage with its support cruisers, the Defiant executed a perfect simulation of catastrophic damage. Power fluctuations, venting atmosphere, and tumbling trajectory that suggested loss of navigational control. The human support vessels immediately moved to defensive positions, covering their flagship's apparent vulnerability. "The Defiant reports critical systems failure," Jax announced, maintaining the charade for any monitoring from the Emperor's vessel. "They're initiating emergency protocols and requesting cessation of hostilities." "Acknowledged," Aaron replied formally. "All vessels hold fire. The demonstration is concluded." The Emperor's response came moments later. "Demonstration satisfactory. Return to lunar facility for ceremony." As the vessels withdrew from the asteroid field, Aaron maintained communication silence with the human fleet, except for necessary navigational coordination. The deception had apparently succeeded. The Emperor had witnessed what appeared to be decisive Imperial victory, while both sides avoided actual destruction. Only when they were safely en route to the Lunar Academy did Aaron contact Elena again. This time, through a secure channel unlikely to be monitored by the Emperor's communications officers. "General, your performance was convincing." Elena's image showed her removing her combat helmet, a hint of tension finally visible in her expression. "As was yours, Captain. I trust our little theatrical production satisfied your Emperor's appetite for decisive outcomes." "It appears so. His message indicated satisfaction with the demonstration." "Good, because I would hate for our year of building trust to end with actual destruction over a matter of Imperial entertainment." Aaron couldn't disagree. "The inauguration ceremony will proceed as planned. The Emperor will formalize the Combat Exchange Academy, and our arrangement will continue under official sanction." "Until the next time he demands blood for amusement," Elena noted, her tone carrying a hint of bitterness. "The risks have always been present," Aaron reminded her. "Today we navigated them successfully. Together." The word hung between them, carrying implications beyond the immediate situation. Their collaboration had evolved into something neither had anticipated when Imperial scouts first entered Earth's atmosphere. A partnership built on mutual respect rather than dominance and submission. The Lunar Academy gleamed in the harsh sunlight as the vessels returned, its structures representing a physical manifestation of this unprecedented relationship. Imperial and human personnel worked side by side, preparing for the ceremony that would formalize what had begun as entertainment and evolved into genuine exchange. As Aaron disembarked from his shuttle, he found Mira waiting at the landing pad, her expression unusually troubled. "The Emperor has requested your presence before the ceremony," she informed him quietly. "Alone." The summons was concerning but not unexpected. The Emperor had witnessed the demonstration and would naturally wish to discuss his observations before the formal proceedings. The private chamber allocated for the Emperor's use at the Academy was sparse by Imperial standards, but still impressive. A space transformed by portable Imperial technology to approximate the grandeur of his palace environments. The Emperor himself stood before a viewport overlooking the Academy grounds, his back to the door, as Aaron entered and performed the required prostration. "Your demonstration was instructive, Captain Volos," the Emperor said without turning. "Though perhaps not in the way you intended." Aaron maintained perfect stillness, sensing danger in the Emperor's tone. "The human vessels suffered simulated rather than actual damage," the Emperor continued. "A theatrical performance, rather than genuine combat." There was no point in denial. The Emperor's observational systems would have detected the discrepancy between apparent damage and actual impact. "Yes, Majesty. I determined that actual destruction of human vessels would undermine the purpose of the combat exchange." "Which is?" "To learn from their adaptive capabilities while demonstrating Imperial superiority," Aaron replied carefully. "Destroying their flagship would have ended the opportunity for continued study." The Emperor finally turned, his expression unreadable. "A logical assessment. Yet it reveals something concerning about your perspective, Captain. You placed potential knowledge gain above a direct Imperial command. I interpreted your command to achieve the desired outcome while preserving the larger objective." "Majesty," Aaron countered, knowing he was on dangerous ground. "The humans believe in Imperial superiority because we demonstrated it without requiring their destruction. The relationship remains intact, allowing for continued benefit to the Empire." The Emperor studied him for a long moment. "You have developed respect for these humans." It wasn't a question, and denial would be futile. "I have recognized value in their approach to combat, Majesty. Their adaptability complements Imperial strength in ways that could enhance our capabilities." "And if I commanded you to destroy them now, to obliterate their planet and end this experiment?" The question struck at the heart of Aaron's conflicted loyalty. Imperial doctrine demanded unquestioning obedience. His experiences over the past year suggested an alternative path that might better serve the Empire's long-term interests. "I would obey, Majesty," he answered truthfully. "But I would consider it a significant loss of potential value to the Empire." The Emperor's expression remained unreadable for another long moment, before unexpectedly shifting into something resembling amusement. "Well said, Captain. Your honesty, at least, remains commendable." Relief washed through Aaron, though he maintained his formal posture. "Thank you, Majesty. This combat exchange has evolved beyond my initial entertainment directive," the Emperor continued, "as you have evolved beyond typical Imperial perspective. Both developments are interesting." The word carried weight in Imperial parlance, suggesting potential value rather than mere curiosity. Aaron remained silent, awaiting the Emperor's judgment on this unprecedented situation. "The ceremony will proceed," the Emperor finally declared. "This academy will be formalized under Imperial sanction, with you as its commanding officer. You will continue to study human combat techniques and incorporate valuable elements into Imperial doctrine." "Thank you, Majesty. The Empire will benefit from this exchange." "Indeed." The Emperor's tone shifted subtly. "But remember, Captain Volos, this arrangement exists at my pleasure. Should I determine that the humans have nothing further to offer, or that their influence has become problematic, this experiment will end, immediately and permanently. The threat was clear, as was the implication regarding Aaron's own position. His continued success, perhaps his survival, depended on demonstrating ongoing value from the combat exchange. Understood. Majesty, I will ensure the arrangement remains beneficial to Imperial interests. See that you do. The Emperor made a dismissive gesture. Prepare for the ceremony. I will formalize this unusual arrangement personally. Dismissed from the Emperor's presence, Aaron found himself with conflicting emotions. The combat exchange would continue, with official Imperial sanction. The unprecedented relationship between Empire and Earth would be formalized. Yet the Emperor's warning remained. This was a conditional arrangement that could end at any moment. He found Elena waiting near the ceremonial hall, her formal uniform representing the unified Earth Defense Alliance, rather than any single nation. Her expression suggested she had her own concerns about the ceremony ahead. The Emperor has approved the Academy's formalization, Aaron informed her. The ceremony will proceed as planned. Relief flickered across her features. After our theatrical performance in the asteroid field, I wasn't certain. He was aware of our deception, Aaron admitted, but recognized the value in continuing the exchange. For now, Elena noted perceptively. For now, Aaron agreed. The arrangement remains precarious, dependent on demonstrating continued value to Imperial interests. Elena studied him with those penetrating eyes that had impressed him from their first encounter. And what about Captain Aaron Volos? What are his interests in this arrangement? It was a dangerous question, one that probed the evolving perspective that even Aaron himself had not fully acknowledged. His year commanding the combat exchange had transformed his understanding of what constituted value to the Empire. The humans' adaptability, their innovative approach to seemingly insurmountable challenges, their willingness to sacrifice for collective advancement, all represented qualities that the Empire, for all its power, sometimes lacked. My interest is in evolution, he finally answered. The Empire has conquered thousands of worlds through overwhelming force, yet faces limitations in addressing adaptive challenges. Your civilization has developed remarkable capabilities, despite technological constraints. Together, we might achieve something greater than either could alone. A partnership rather than subjugation, Elena translated. Not exactly Imperial doctrine. Doctrine can evolve, Aaron replied, as civilizations must if they wish to survive. The ceremonial hall, filled with representatives from both civilizations, Imperial officers in their formal regalia, and human delegates from Earth's various nations. The Emperor's arrival silenced the assembly, his presence commanding absolute attention despite his physically unimposing stature. The ceremony itself was brief by Imperial standards. A formal declaration establishing the Academy as an official institution recognized by both Earth and Empire. The Emperor spoke of mutual benefit through controlled conflict and evolution through challenge, phrases that subtly transformed what had begun as entertainment into something approaching legitimate diplomatic relationship. Elena, speaking for Earth, emphasized learning through engagement and strength through diversity, concepts that aligned with human values while acknowledging the reality of their position relative to imperial power. As the ceremony concluded and the assembled dignitaries dispersed to more informal celebrations, Aaron found himself standing with Elena at the Academy's main viewport, looking out over the lunar landscape where imperial and human personnel were already conducting joint exercises. So it begins officially, Elena observed. An unprecedented relationship between conqueror and unconquered? Between civilizations with different approaches to similar challenges, Aaron corrected. The Empire has much to learn from Earth's adaptability. And we have much to learn from Imperial efficiency, Elena acknowledged. Though I wonder if either side is truly prepared for how this exchange might transform us both. It was a profound question, one that Aaron had been considering with increasing frequency. The combat exchange had already begun changing Imperial tactics, introducing adaptive elements to traditionally rigid doctrine. Similarly, human military systems had incorporated Imperial principles of standardization and energy efficiency, where appropriate, but the deeper implications extended beyond mere technical exchange. This unprecedented relationship challenged fundamental assumptions in both civilizations: Imperial beliefs in absolute superiority and human fears of alien conquest. It suggested a third path between dominance and submission, a collaborative approach that recognized value in difference rather than demanding uniformity. Transformation through challenge, Aaron mused, echoing the Emperor's ceremonial phrase. Perhaps that was always the purpose of combat, not merely to determine victor and vanquished, but to drive evolution through mutual testing. Combat as communication, Elena added, repeating her original proposal. A dialogue conducted through contest rather than words. As they watched Imperial and human personnel working together on the lunar surface below, Aaron realized they were witnessing something truly unprecedented. The beginning of a relationship between civilizations, based not on conquest, but on mutual challenge and respect. Whether it would endure beyond the Emperor's capricious interest remained uncertain, but its very existence challenged assumptions that had defined both civilizations. The Galactic Empire had set its gaze on Earth, eager for combat against humans. What it had found instead was not merely a worthy opponent, but a potential partner in evolution, a civilization whose very differences offered opportunities for growth rather than reasons for subjugation. To worthy opponents, Aaron said, echoing their earlier exchange. And unexpected allies, Elena completed, her gaze meeting his with understanding of the complex path ahead. The combat exchange had begun as Imperial entertainment. It had evolved into something far more significant, a bridge between civilizations that might, with careful nurturing, transform both in ways neither could achieve alone. Through controlled conflict, they had discovered potential for collaborative growth, proving that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from conquest, but from connection.